When most people think of drugs, they think of parties, having a good time, or just escaping the world for a little bit. But what they don't understand are the long-term effects it can have on one's body and the turmoil it can put a family through. It becomes more than just having fun. It's all about getting that fix. Drug addiction is a disease that cannot be overcome by willpower alone. People from all walks of life can be addicted to drugs. Because of this, today I will discuss what drug addiction is, some stereotypes associated with the disease, and the many effects it has on our society today. Let's begin by discussing what the definition of drug addiction and some steps that lead up to it. According to the Encyclopedia of Psychology, addiction is a condition in which the body must have a drug in order to avoid physical or psychological withdrawal symptoms. The Drug Rehab Advice website states that there are 4 stages that can lead up to drug addiction. The first one is experimentation. During this stage, one might have a drink, smoke a joint, or take a pain pill without having any legal or social consequences. Once the individual realizes that the substance has solved some sort of problem, they might move on to the next stage, which is misuse. During this stage, negative consequences start to come into play, and the individual starts using on a more regular basis, which then could lead to abuse. This is a stage where consequences no longer affect the individual, hence the name abuser. They start using on a daily basis, and the individual starts showing serious signs of irresponsibility at home, school, work, etc. The 4th stage is dependence. During this stage, the drug starts to take over, and the individual cannot function without it. Tolerance also plays a role here because the body needs more and more of the drug in order to get the same outcome. By this time, the individual's life is full anarchy. Now that we know what drug addiction is and the stages that can lead up to it, let's look at a couple stereotypes associated with the disease. In November 2011, the National Institute for Drug Abuse stated that most people think that people with drug addictions are poor or mental people, which is not necessarily true, because drug addiction can affect the poor to the rich and everyone in between. The people that have mental issues are more likely to have drug addictions, and that's according to the American Journal of Psychiatry. Now that we've looked at a couple of the stereotypes, let's move on to get some of the effects it has on our society. The National Institute of Drug Abuse states that $600 billion annually is spent or is linked towards the overall cost of addiction. And these costs include productivity, health, and crime-related costs. These are broken down into 3 different categories. The first one is illicit drugs. $193 billion a year is spent on illicit drugs, according to the National Drug Intelligence Center. $193 billion also annually is spent on tobacco, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And $235 billion annually is spent for alcohol, according to Global Burdens of Disease and Alcohol Disorders. Now let's quickly review some of the main points associated with drug addiction. Drug addiction can be very detrimental to a person's, not only to the person, but to the family and society as well. Enormous impact can be made on the person's life when it comes to family, friends, as well as health issues. In conclusion, fighting the temptation to try drugs in the first place could save your life. There are more positive ways to escape a situation or fulfill a void that won't have such a negative impact on one's life. Although I have a better understanding of what drug addicts go through because I was a drug addict myself, I look back now and I regret the horrible ways that I treated my family and loved ones. And because of this, I now live 1,000 miles away. Just say no to drugs, because if you don't, this is what could happen to you after just 3 months of drug use.